The Suunto Race 2 has received quite a few updates over the original race, including a larger display, a newer and faster processor, and longer battery life, and more. Well, I've been testing the Race 2 for a while now, and today I'm going to give you my complete, honest thoughts on whether or not you should consider upgrading to the Suunto Race 2. Let's get to it. Well, hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the channel. My name is Steven. I want to let you know that Suunto did send the Race 2 as well as all of the other Suunto watches to me to test and review. They don't tell me what to say. I'm under no obligation to say anything positive or negative. I'm going to give you my completely honest thoughts just like always. And if you want to purchase the watch after watching this review, please consider using my affiliate link in the description. It won't cost you a cent, but it will help support the channel, and that would be cool. I'd appreciate it. Well, first, let's get right to the pricing of the Suunto Race 2, as it did increase just a little bit. The stainless steel version that I have here with this silicone band retails for $499 US, and there is actually a titanium version available, and that's going to retail for $599 US. Now, that is about $50 more than the original race watches were. In the box, you're going to get the Race 2, obviously, and you also get the 22mm quick release silicone band that does have a push pin style clasp. Suunto has been using this style of band for quite a while and clasp, and I really like them. I actually think they're pretty secure. In the box, you're also going to get a new charger because the charging ports on the Suunto Race 2 have changed. Yes, that's right, another new charger from Suunto. Seems like every time a new watch is released, we get a new charger. It would be kind of nice if we saw some consistency amongst the brand. Now, right out of the box, I did have to update to the most recent firmware for the Race 2, and that took quite a while. So don't get too excited when you first get the watch in the mail. It's probably going to take you 30 minutes to maybe even an hour to fully get it set up and running. Next, after updating the firmware, I wanted to download the maps for Colorado so I can have full offline maps. And this took quite a while as well. I'm not sure why, as the maps they're very nice, they're really detailed maps, but they don't have a lot of other features that some other brands do, and theirs download much quicker, so I'm not sure why it took so long. Now, the first upgrade on the Race 2 I want to talk about is actually this AMOLED display. It is vivid, crisp, easy to read in any lighting, just like on the original Race watch. However, on the Race 2, it is a high-definition LTPO AMOLED, and what that means is a low-temperature polycrystalline oxide, and basically that's just supposed to consume less power and give you a little better battery life. Now, that AMOLED is 1.5 inches now, which is quite large. This honestly is probably one of the larger displays that I have tested of any watch brand. The glass is sapphire crystal, which is incredibly durable and tough to damage. When running, cycling, or even just sitting on the couch watching Netflix, a quick raise of the wrist, the watch lights up. It's very easy to see in pretty much any lighting condition. Even in the bright Colorado sun, it's very easy to read and see the data on the screen during an activity. The display is up to 2000 nits of brightness, and you can change that. There is a low, medium, and high setting. The watch defaults when it ships to the medium setting, and honestly, that is pretty darn bright. I think for most people that should be plenty adequate. Another good feature about the size of this display is that, as you can see here, the text on that right there is pretty big, so people that may have some vision issues should be able to see pretty well with this watch. The new watch face here is pretty awesome, very easy to use, and you can actually change these two complications at the top. And you can see on the bottom here, you've got your exercise activity over the last 4 weeks. Another nice feature of this really big 1.5 inch bright display is the flashlight. And for me, I just customize this bottom button, hold it down, and then as you can see, it turns on, and it's pretty darn bright. It's plenty bright for me to use this if I was getting into my closet, getting dressed in the morning, and didn't want to wake up my wife. It's really kind of useful. As for the specifications and sizing of the Suunto Race 2, it's nearly identical to the Suunto Race. It measures in at 49 by 49 by 12.5 millimeters, so it's actually just a little bit thinner than the original Race. If you see those two there, you can see it's definitely a little bit thinner. Now, it definitely is it's a bigger watch. I mean, if you look at it, you can see it's a big watch. However, it did not feel overly large on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. And just for sizing comparison here, you can see what it looks like compared to the original Race, the Race S, and now the Race 2. The watch with the silicone band here weighs in at 76 grams, so it is a little bit heavier than the original Race was. And again, it does feel like a little bit of a bigger watch. The button layout is the same on the Race 2. You have the digital crown on the side. However, I did notice that now it is actually quite a bit smaller compared to the original Race here. And it actually is more similar to the crown that we see on the Race S here. It's actually pretty much identical, just different color. Another huge update for the Race 2 is to the processor. They now use the Ambiq Apollo 510 processor, which if you've seen my other reviews, you know that COROS uses that in their Apex 4, the Pace Pro, and as well as the Nomad watch. This processor is very fast, and you can see the difference when comparing the Race versus the Race 2. And you can really see this difference on the maps, which we'll talk more about here in just a moment. But you can see that the maps load much quicker on the Race 2 as compared to the original Race. The Race 2 is available in either the stainless steel version like I have here, and the case on this is a glass reinforced polyamide, or basically it's a hardened plastic, and the glass itself, like I said, is sapphire. There is also a titanium version. This is the original Race here, but this was in the titanium, and it's going to look very similar. It has a titanium bezel. However, the case on the Race 2 with the titanium is still that same hardened plastic. Either way, no matter which version you get, it's going to be quite durable. The Race 2 is tested to the highest military standard, and it is water resistant down to 100 meters. Plus, the watch looks really sharp in my opinion. I honestly really like this orange coral color. I think it looks pretty sharp. Now, honestly, what really surprised me about the Race 2 was, again, the battery life. With this bright, beautiful AMOLED display, you still get crazy long battery life. With the Race 2, you can get up to 55 hours of battery life during an activity with the highest GPS settings in performance mode. That's going to be your dual frequency band. There are 4 levels that you can choose from, and that's going to change things like battery life, and it turns off other features of the watch, reduces the accuracy just a little bit. There is the endurance mode, which will give you up to 65 hours, and in that you can basically think of that as being an all systems on GPS. And then there is the ultra mode, which will give you up to 90 hours, and tour mode, which will give you up to 200 hours, but it does have the lowest GPS accuracy. And it is actually really quite simple to change between those. When you're in the activity, just scroll to exercise options and then battery mode and select the mode that you want. So even with the performance mode, which is the dual frequency highest GPS settings available on this watch, you will have more than enough for pretty much any 100-mile ultramarathon out there. Another big upgrade for the Race 2 is to the optical heart rate sensor. If you remember my previous reviews of both the Race and the Race S, this was a little bit better. The heart rate accuracy was honestly my biggest weak point for both of these watches. Well, Suunto has completely redesigned the heart rate sensor on the Race 2. Just by looking at the 3 Race models, you can see clearly it is much different. Now on the Race 2 here, instead of just 2 LEDs and 2 photodetectors, we've got 6 LEDs and 4 large photodetectors. Now, my testing did yield some much better results, but it was not consistent. When I ran on the treadmill indoors, you can see that the Race 2 and the COROS APEX 4 appeared to be very similar. Over these 2 treadmill runs, it does look like the Suunto might take just a bit longer to read, but then both are very similar. However, when I did a trail run outside in the the atmosphere, the environment, the wind, the temperature was different. The Race 2 was wildly different. The Race 2 just seemed to steadily climb, and at one point at the end, it said my heart rate was 187 beats per minute, when the COROS watch said 134. Now, I know my heart rate pretty well, and I know that I was nowhere near 187 beats per minute. I was very likely much closer to that 134 beats. Now, I don't know if this was just an oddity, a one-time thing. I have not seen that since, but it did happen, so I wanted to let you know. Another result of that larger, bigger heart rate sensor is they moved the charging contact points on the back of the watch. This resulted in a new charger like we talked about. Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about GPS accuracy. Both the Suunto Race 2 and the COROS watch here are in their highest dual band settings, and you can see that both appear to be very accurate with clean and consistent GPS tracks. So again, like I always expect from Suunto, it appears to be very accurate. The Suunto Race 2 does have 32 gigabytes of storage for those offline maps, and like I said, you can download those inside of the Suunto app. However, it did take quite a long time. The maps on the Suunto watches have always been very nice, pretty detailed, but honestly, now that we're in the end of 2025, many other brands have made a lot of improvements to their maps. They have a lot of other features now where Suunto kind of still feels a little stuck in the past. Don't get me wrong, the Suunto Race 2 is still great for navigating, and the maps have a good level of detail, and there are actually different contrast levels that you can choose from. However, the maps do not have any labels, trail or street names, and no points of interest. It would be really nice if Suunto would update their maps to have street names, road names, trail names, points of interest, parking lots, things like that. A really nice feature, though, that Suunto has that some other brands do not in their maps is what is called the bearing navigation. You can select a bearing and lock it so that when you're on a map, you'll see a little arrow for the bearing that you logged. And this is incredibly helpful when you're doing something called dead reckoning. That style of navigation, this would be really handy. Plus, when you create a route inside of the Suunto app and you're going to follow it on your watch, you can have turn-by-turn navigation as well, which is also really nice to have. The Suunto Race 2 also tracks your sleep, your steps. There's a built-in coach inside of the app as well. And you can control your music on your phone through the controls on the watch. But as far as a smartwatch goes these days, again, in the end of 2025, it also feels like the smartwatch features are lacking a little bit. There is no ability to respond to text messages on this. Unless you do have an Android phone, you can actually select like predetermined messages that you want to reply with. You cannot answer phone calls. There's no contactless payment. There's no speaker. There's no microphone. So many of the other brands out there have come out with some very innovative, cool new features on their watches. And I would just like to see Suunto do the same. I do really like the weather widget on the Suunto Race 2. It's very clear, easy to see, provides you a lot of good detail as well. Now, with all of that said, Suunto has been known for their maps, their GPS accuracy. And if all you want to do is go on a hike, go on some trail runs, ultra runs, certainly with all of that crazy battery life, then the Suunto Race 2 is going to be awesome. Well, overall, I think the Suunto Race 2 is a pretty darn awesome watch for trail and ultra running and even hiking in the mountains. The GPS accuracy is some of the best out there, and the battery life with that beautiful LTPO AMOLED display is insane. However, I'm not quite certain that the upgraded heart rate sensor is actually an upgrade yet. I still need to do a little more testing. Well, hopefully this review has helped you if you are researching the Race 2, if it's the watch that you want to purchase. If so, like I said, please consider using my link in the description down below. If you're going to purchase it, it won't cost you a cent extra, but it does help support me as a creator and putting out content like this as well. But I want to know, have you tried the Race 2? It has been out for a little bit. What are your thoughts on the features? Have you had good results or maybe some not great results with that new heart rate sensor? Please let us know below. I'd really love to hear that about the heart rate sensor. What you think? Now, another fantastic trail and ultra running watch that was just released is the COROS APEX 4. Take a look on your screen right over there. Go watch that full review. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Thank you to Suunto for sending the watches like always. I appreciate that too. I'll see you all in the next one.